holiday edition of Where the Harrises, Super Bowl champion Chris Harris Jr., current Browns player Shelby Harris, and myself, Ryan Harris. And this is brought to you by our friends at Landmark Lincoln. And don't forget about that all-new 2024 Lincoln Corsair GT plug-in hybrid. Heard it gets a lot of miles. Go to landmarklincoln.com to see the latest offers and incentives and see if you qualify for no payments up to 90 days. Again, that's landmarklincoln.com, the number one Lincoln dealer in Colorado. Well, boys, we got a lot of NFL talk to get to, but I don't know if you see my sweatshirt. I thought I'd ask two defensive brothers what they thought about that whooping that Notre Dame put on Indiana. Come on, let me hear it. I got the receipts.
Man, it's two straight times that Indiana has failed to show up when it's time to show up. And, I'll never forget just that fourth quarter when they decided to go punt the ball to begin the fourth. It just didn't make any sense to me, like what Indiana was doing. It's just, it's a college football playoff. You get one shot. It's win or go home. And I don't think Indiana was prepared good enough for that atmosphere. But Notre Dame handled their business. Shout out to Notre Dame. They looked the part. And, this whole week of college football playoffs, the whole first round, it was very exciting.
Right. I like what Ohio State did to Tennessee. Tennessee, them boys came out there with the shirts off. They're taking the shirts off as they're running out like they weren't cold. And I don't ever get that, because you're going to be cold. Guys go out there faking like they're not cold. But Ohio State, man, went out there and balled. Jeremiah Smith, big dog at receiver, continues to make plays every week. So it's going to be some great matchups coming up, man. I'm looking forward to it. The first round was kind of weak, it was a lot of lopsided games, but I think the second round it should pick up.
Well, I think the big thing you saw in that first week of college football playoffs is that many coaches are not ready. Kirk Cignetti, the head coach for Indiana, this guy had the worst clock management I could imagine for a big game. Didn't even run the 2-minute drill until the halfway through the fourth quarter. I mean, some of these coaches aren't ready. And I understand, and we get it too, because we as players, there have been games we're like, oh, man, we need to find another level, right? I mean, but coaches need to too. I mean, not every coach is ready for the moment, just like not every player. But make no mistake, the teams that won, they had decisive head coaches who understood the situation. And I'll tell you, from calling that Notre Dame game, man, them home field advantage, that play is real in the college football playoffs, man. Everybody's coming out.
What I don't like, though, is just the idea of, some of these lower seed teams or higher seed teams or whatever, they come in there and they lose, and everyone's like, oh, well, then Alabama should have been in there or Ole Miss should have been in there. No, Alabama and these other teams should have been in there if they would have won and not lost all the games that they lost. It's easy to go back after the fact and be like, oh, we want this other team in there. It would have been a better game. Well, then you should have won your games in the regular season when it mattered. It's easy to just go back and make all these excuses for these teams now, but we got to just keep it. We got to keep it 100. We got to keep it real for a second. If they were good enough to be in the playoff, they would have been in it. But they failed the task multiple times throughout the season, and so now we can't just go about, oh, it would have been a better game. We got to talk about the fact of these are the teams that actually deserve to be there. So the SMU who didn't show up, you know what I mean? The SMU that didn't show up, but no, you see no one saying anything about Tennessee. Tennessee didn't show up. Ohio State beat the brakes off them boys. Tennessee didn't show up at all. And you're not hearing anybody saying, oh, man, like, it should have been another team. No, everyone's just taking that L on the chin and saying it's okay. Tennessee, that's the team that should have been there. And that's the mindset we should have with these other teams that are in the playoff.
I agree, man. And let's piggyback. Let's go to the NFL, man. We seen last week, we felt like the MVP was locked up with Josh Allen. And, he had a hard game last week. Saquon Barkley had a tough game, right? So who do y'all think is going to finish the last 2 weeks strong and being the MVP?
Man, I think that's Lamar Jackson. And I would love for Josh Allen to do it. I think he might win the Super Bowl MVP, though. But for me, Lamar Jackson's about to be the first player in history with 4,000 passing yards and 800 rushing yards in the same season. I mean, what he's able to do needs to be celebrated. And I know he's already won it before, but man, nobody in the NFL can do what he does. Nobody, I mean, I can't even imagine offensively that playbook. You might even call a run play and expect a boot with Lamar Jackson. So he's still making it a little too hard for me. But that being said, he's got the best numbers. I mean, he could hit 800 yards rushing on Christmas Day and 4,000 yards passing. I mean, what a gift. But you got to do it in the playoffs. But my vote is Lamar Jackson.
I would have to say Saquon. And it would only be Saquon if he's able to do these couple things. One, if he can lead the Eagles to a 2-0 the next couple weeks, that would cement it to Saquon for me, especially if Hurts is out this next week coming up. That right there would prove to me that Saquon Barkley really is the most important player on the team. And then another thing is if he does end up breaking that rushing record. I know I keep saying the same thing. If he breaks the rushing record, he is MVP. But I've heard from older players there should be an asterisk next to it just based off of, it's an extra game. I don't care. When you're having a rushing performance, the way that Saquon is, and showing that he is leading this Eagles team, he's putting the team on his back, and it's a big part of their success. If only the Giants would have realized this when they made a decision to let him go. But it's just what he's doing for the Eagles right now with the passing attack, which has been struggling. That's not a secret. Has been struggling. It's hard to vote against Saquon. But then, you got to give Lamar Jackson credit when it's due. He's really just been out here just showing that he's become such a better passer this year, even with adding Derrick Henry into the mix. It's truly something special. But, Josh Allen's having a hell of a year too. But for me, it's truly a mix between Saquon, really Saquon. If he can finish the season out strong, it got to be Saquon.
And it's going to be hard for Josh Allen, right? He hurt his hand last game. Mm-hmm. And we know how that can be for a quarterback. That can definitely bother him. And seeing how James Cook's been running the ball, I can see Buffalo kind of leaning on him a lot more. So Josh might not finish strong as a Lamar Jackson or a Saquon Barkley. But it's hard, man. It's hard to go against Lamar Jackson, right? When you look at his numbers, they're crazy, right? Low interception, high touchdown, tons of yards, winning record. But the problem is with him is he's already won it 2 times, right? I think that's the negative against Lamar Jackson, that he's already won it. And you know how media can sometimes, they'll just hand it to somebody else that hasn't won it. But Josh Allen, I think he's definitely deserving of it. But it's just hard to go against Lamar Jackson's numbers this year.
Mm-hmm.
Man, Lamar Jackson, he's been electric all year. But now coming up, we got a couple Christmas games coming up. We've all been there, had to play on holidays before. How do you guys feel about, the idea of actually playing on Christmas or Thanksgiving or a New Year's Day game? How does that feel as a player preparing for a game like that?
Well, if you're the road team, you hate it, right? I mean, If you're the road team, you don't like it at all. I love what the NFL is doing for the fans, though, giving that much football to fans. And look, with the college football playoffs and Saturday and Sunday NFL games and a Monday, I mean, that's the greatest run in football television history we've ever had. Really an incredible weekend we passed in football. But I'll tell you something, it's really great to see Netflix get on board. And people are missing this. And I've been in broadcast meetings 8 years ago where they said Amazon and Netflix are about to take over sports. The ability for new companies to come into the established NFL is going to have a tremendous impact on the quality of the product that the NFL is able to showcase. These networks learn from each other. If one network does something good, they want to find something better. So it's going to be great for the fans, terrible for the road team. And if you're the home team, man, you got to say Santa came at halftime or something because you can't open presents before the game.
Right. I never got to play on a Thanksgiving or Christmas game. I can't believe, I don't think so in my career. But I think mixing the NFL and the NBA games, the NBA has to be mad, right? Because they're already low on viewers. And now you got to compete with the NFL, even though they're going to be on Netflix, right? They're still competing with their viewers. And we all know that football rules king here in America, right? So if I'm the NBA, that's I'm mad at the NFL for doing that, right? But as a player, it's always you always pride yourself in playing prime time, going out there and ball. But you're losing time away from the family. You're missing those moments. But it's always good to play prime time, man. But if I'm the NBA, I'm mad. Yeah, right. You taking my viewers.
Yeah, Chris, I completely agree with you. As a player, if you're a parent, the young kids, you don't get these moments back. This is the trade-off that we talk about as a player, of being able to be there for, some moments, but then some moments, you got to go work. So that's a moment where, like, I would love to be there Christmas morning with my kids, but we got a playoff game. So if you're the away team, that's tough because you're missing Christmas Eve and you're missing most of Christmas Day. And don't let it be a cross-country game. Then you're really missing the whole holiday. And so as a parent, you gotta feel for that. That's tough. But as a fan, you got to be extremely happy about it because you're just like with these Black Friday games, the Thanksgiving game, you're getting these games in situations where it's usually not football, Lauren. It's something to watch. And, America loves football. And so football being available on these prime time holiday moments is what the people want to see. Now, the question is really about Netflix. Are we going to have the same problems that we had with the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight?
Hey, I was gonna say that. Yeah, you're right.
Is this going to be a smooth operation? Because just like the first time when Amazon got in the mix, it wasn't smooth. And during a live game is not a time where Americans really want to see you trying to get your stuff together. And so this is my issues are not really about football. It's about all the operations going into producing a football game. And I think Netflix, this is a great idea, but is it going to be executed? And I think that's the bigger issue.
Right. They added Beyonce there. Right. So they got a little mini concert in the middle of it. And that's going to add tons of views, man. But it's just there's not a game in the NBA that I'm like looking forward to. Right. It used to be like, okay, I'm looking forward to a LeBron versus Kobe matchup. But there's no matchup out there that I'm excited for going for the NBA. Maybe Nugget fans are probably hyped, but it's not no big game. Is there a game circled in the NBA that y'all are just excited to watch?
Well, even think about the NBA. Did you watch any of the NBA Cup? I did, obviously, because my Bucks is the one who, took it home.
Oh,
you feel me?
Man.
Like,
of
course I watched some of it, and I think that's just a bigger issue in general is like, one, you could love watching NBA games, but any of those days, any of those games, your star player might not be playing. And, I went to two games. The Bucks came to Cleveland twice this year already, right? I went to both of them. The first game, Giannis didn't play. The second game, Dame didn't play. And you're talking about you spending good money on these tickets. Imagine, the non-athletes, the people, the hard-working people who spend money on these tickets, and you go to the game and your star player isn't playing. So this is where the NBA has a problem in general. You have a primetime game, and you see a team have 3 starters not playing. And so you talk about failing, flopping ratings, and this is, great move by the NFL to move a game on Christmas on a day that's usually basketball. But the NBA has itself to blame. This is just it's getting unwatchable at this point.
Well, and the other thing too, the back-to-backs, players don't want to play those, especially veterans. I mean, and they have to get rid of. To me, the NBA has to get rid of the back-to-back. One, there's no reason why you should start before Christmas, and two, there's no reason, especially starting before Christmas, if you are still having back-to-backs later on in the season. So I just think the NBA product really stretched itself too thin. And conversely, football has just kind of eked its way into more and more primetime viewership. So I'd imagine some NBA execs are going to be spending some time in the NFL building saying, how do you guys do that? What are you guys thinking about? Because the NFL is doing it the right way.
Right, man. And they're going to continue to explore different avenues, right? We see them on, like we said, Amazon, Netflix, multiple different other national television sites. The NFL Red Zone. They just do a better job, with the fantasy, everything. The whole total package of the NFL is just killing the NBA right now. Only thing we need is better contracts and better stuff for the players, benefits for the players, right? And then we're right there. That's the only thing. They treat the players a little bit better. They have better,
health insurance,
everything. Money, package, everything. So that's all we got to do is catch up on how we treat the players. And I think the NFL will be right there, man, as the golden standard, man. But we see what's going on, man, in the world of social media now, man. We spoke a little bit with Travis, man, and we seen that he's deactivated his Instagram. What would y'all speak on it now that we seen this stuff going on? Viral pictures and videos happening nonstop. We kind of gave this guy a warning. What would y'all say to him now, man? Now that this stuff is all just went viral.
I will say this. Travis Hunter, you're still a great football player without the off the field distractions. And what a blessing to get to experience what the microscope, how different the microscope is when you're a professional. And I have not met a single player in my 10-year NFL career or since broadcasting that was ready for the amount of attention and the amount of information that people know about not only you, but everyone who is around you. So I'm just thankful that, Travis Hunter has had this experience before he's in the NFL, because too often these experiences happen afterwards and it's destructive to a career. And I mean, to think that Travis Hunter might be even more focused, in his rookie season than he's ever been. I mean, that if I'm a GM, I'm licking my chops. But the big message to Travis Hunter is you're not the only person that's experienced this. It's a frequent occurrence in professional sports in high visibility situations. So take it as a blessing and move forward with the focus that you can have on your craft.
I think if you're a GM for a big market team, you have to love this response, because you got to think of it. This is the way I think of it: is national media is on you. Everybody's telling you to do something. Everybody is on you about something. Everybody's talking about your girl. So how do you blur it out? You deactivate. I'm getting away from it. I'm not going to let this affect me. It's going to be online. It's going to be on Instagram. It's going to be on Twitter. You're going to see it all over the place. The thing is, how are you going to consume your news? You can consume it or you can ignore it, and eventually it's going to go away. But the thing is, being a big market person, you go to a New York. You go to an LA. You go to a place where the eyes are on you all the time. There's going to be things where you're going to have to keep your head low. Maybe you didn't have a great game. Keep your head low, go back to work, come back out there next Sunday, play again. So I think you can look at it a couple different ways, but I think this is just showing that these are the traits that's going to make this kid, be one of the great ones. Is based on his demeanor, his ability to detach from a situation and not let it. Especially a lot of these young kids today, they get consumed about what's being said on them on social media. So to be able to detach and take a second, take a deep breath, and figure your life out and not let the social media consume you. If you're a GM, you gotta look and think that these are great qualities to have.
Yeah.
Right, man. And you kind of feel bad for him, going through the situation, but this is a learning lesson, right? I would never bring out a girl, to the public like that if that's not my wife, right? I'm not locked in with her yet. So that could be a learning curve. You just can't put your girlfriend out there yet, right? You're not locked up with her yet. That's not the wife yet. So that's something that, I think that's probably advice that probably Dion and a lot of other guys probably gave him advice on what to do. And no telling, he probably will more than likely still be with the girl, right? So the guys might as well just support him, try to be a big brother for him as much as they can. And, everybody has to learn lessons on their own, right? You got to be a man on your own. You got to learn from your mistakes. And this is one of those situations. I think just let the guy, he's going to have to just learn from his mistakes. And, and I don't see them ever, I don't see him breaking up with her just because of this instance. I think from the videos, he showed too much that he loved this girl, right? So I don't see him letting her go at all.
Hey, just a reminder that this show is brought to you by our friends over at Landmark Lincoln and the all-new 2024 Lincoln Corsair GT plug-in hybrid. Head over to landmarklincoln.com to check out the latest offers and incentives, including incredible tax incentives on the all-new Corsair GT plug-in hybrids. Go to landmarklincoln.com or stop in to the #1 Lincoln dealer in Colorado to see if you qualify for no payments up to 90 days. Again, that's landmarklincoln.com or stop in at the corner of Broadway and Bellevue today and see why they've been Colorado's trusted Lincoln dealer since 1911. All right, boys, well, let's wrap it up with the last segment. In or out of the playoffs, who's the team you think is in and who's the team you think is out of the playoffs for the NFC and AFC coming down the stretch?
Man, that's tough. It's a lot of teams right there on the cusp of things, but I think AFC wise, I think the Broncos will make the playoffs. I think that's a team that will win one of the last 2 games. I don't see them losing the last 2. I think they will make the playoffs, and I think they probably will win the first game of the playoffs. You know, see, like I believe in the Broncos. You know, I believe in that defense. You know, anytime you have an elite defense like that, you know, you have to believe in them, man. And then the team I think that won't make the playoffs. I think it's tough, but I don't think the Seahawks are going to make the playoffs this year in the NFC. You know, that's a tough with them and the Rams being and the same record wise. I just think the Seahawks, they got a lot to figure out, and I don't know if this is the year they figure it out. You know, because you see 2 different Seahawks teams. You see and man, they're going to start to say that like I hate all my former teams and all this stuff. That I'm
Hey,
all,
they ain't
all
paying you no more. They ain't paying you no
teams.
more. It don't matter.
Man, I just you know, the Seahawks 1 week will look like they got to figure it out, and next week look like a completely different team. And you know, they're very wishy-washy. They flip-flop a lot. So I just think, you know, the Rams, you know, what you're going to get with the Rams, you're going to get a team that runs the hell out of the ball, and then you have a veteran, Matt Stafford, back there that's going to get them right. So, you know, I believe in Geno, but I just think that the Seahawks are a team that, you know, next, you know, one more year in this offense and one more year under McDonald, I think they're going to figure it out. But this year, I think they'll be the team that misses the playoffs.
Man, I had Seattle making the playoffs. I had the Rams and Seattle sneaking in that division, and the Cardinals being that team left out in the NFC. It's real tight, especially when you look at the NFC North. Having 3 teams with 10-plus wins, you know, that's a tough division with the Lions, Packers, and the Vikings. And then it's kind of just every downhill from there, right? Where you add the Eagles, and then everything else is kind of just downhill. So I think Seattle sneaks in on that last spot. And the Rams, I think the Rams actually win that division, right? With Matthew Stafford playing solid, them having a good running game right now with Williams. Their defense is stepping up, making plays. I like the way they're playing. On the AFC side, I think the AFC's pretty much almost locked up. I think the Broncos and the Chargers take those last couple spots. There might be one more spot that I might be missing because we got the Bills, the Chiefs, Ravens, Pittsburgh, Vikings, or Pittsburgh, Broncos,
Chargers.
and the Chargers. So I think the Dolphins don't make it. The Bengals don't make it. All those teams, you know, I think they'll be done. And you say Broncos win the first round. They might have to play the Chiefs first round.
No, they
So
might have to go to Pittsburgh.
It's gonna be
I
a
think they
tough
end up going to
matchup.
Pittsburgh. I think they end up going to Pittsburgh. And I just think that, you know, those 2 defenses against each other.
Or they Chiefs get the bye.
Yeah, the Chiefs will get the bye. So I think they end up going to Pittsburgh and playing Blitzburg. And I think that'd be a good game. But I think the Broncos, these next 2 weeks are really going to prove who they are, because you and I and everybody else in the world knows that the Broncos got to get their run game going. If they're going to have any success in the playoffs, you cannot put it all on a rookie quarterback. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, and I think that the Broncos have a tough matchup against the Bengals now. I mean, Jamar Chase has the triple crown: receiving yards, total yards per catch, and touchdowns. So receptions, and touchdowns. So I don't think the Colts get in on the AFC side. I don't think Miami gets in. I think it'd be cool if the Bengals somehow won their way in, but they need a lot of help. But I think, like you said, Chris, this is pretty much locked up in the AFC. However, the interesting game to me coming up this weekend is going to be the Falcons versus the Commanders. I mean, these are 2 teams right in the thick of it. I'm with you, Chris. Shelby, I don't think Seattle gets in, but the Falcons and Commanders, that's going to be a nice little battle right there to see who can make it. And Atlanta currently right now the number 1 seed in their division, so they have to win. But the Commanders, man, Jaden Daniels just keeps sealing up that Rookie of the Year. So, I mean, that's the matchup. To me, the winner of that game is in, and the loser of that game is out. And if that's the Falcons, look out for Tampa to sneak its way into the playoffs.
Man, isn't that crazy, though? Kirk Cousins has played atrocious, and the Falcons are still first in the division.
Leads the league.
Because that division is always bad. The records every year is bad, you know, and they're always make the playoffs just by winning their division, right? They'll have the worst record in the NFC, and there might be other teams with better records, but just because they won that NFC South, they always get in, man. And but usually the Bucks, you know, they're always tough in the playoffs, you know. But Atlanta, them sneaking in with Penix, I don't think they're going to be a good playoff team, you know, especially in that NFC, having to go against those teams. They're all stacked, you know. I think the Lions can go anywhere, and nobody wants to go to Detroit. Yeah, I don't care how many guys they have injured, right? You know you're gonna get ready for a heavyweight match. Those guys are gonna play hard. So I got the Lions right now. I don't think we're doing picks yet, but man, I got the
Nice.
Lions in the championship, man. I'm gonna think about it on the AFC side, but the NFC side, I'm gonna roll with the Lions.
Man, it's gonna be Lions Packers, baby. I already know it's gonna be Lions Packers NFC Championship, and I think the Packers are gonna end up. I legitimately do not believe that Minnesota is a real threat. Like I just believe they'll be one of those regular season teams, but once it gets down to it, I don't believe in Minnesota. That's just a personal thought behind it. I am biased a little bit because I grew up a Packer fan, but I like the Packers beating the Lions. The last time they played them extremely well, and I just think with the Lions mounting injuries, it's going to eventually in the playoffs be too much. And then on the AFC side, it's tough, but if it's Chiefs Bills again, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Hey, we're all watching it, and we're all watching.
You know what I mean? 100% locked in. But Chiefs, I would definitely think Chiefs Bills would, and then predictions. I think it'd be Packers Bills. I'm not going. I don't think the Chiefs got it this year. I'm going Packers Bills, and I think Jordan Love's going to bring it home for the Packers championship.
Oh man,
I
the
like
favoritism
that. I like
comes
it.
in.
Yeah, you can't help it. Hey, Shelby, Skull Vikings, okay? Skull Vikings. Hey, I like Kansas City. Hey, I go by the wrestling rules. To beat a man, you got to beat the man, and ain't nobody done it yet in the last few years. And then I'm going with the Packers after the Vikings beat them. So I want the Vikings to beat them like that divisional round, or maybe even in that NFC Championship game. Sam Darnold, go get your money, big dog. That's going to be fun to watch. It's much more intriguing what's happening on the NFC side than the AFC because, AFC is kind of like an established institution. You know who's going to be there.
Yeah.
The NFC, man, they're fighting right and left. But, guys, before we leave, let's give a little insight to people on what the holiday gift sharing, the white elephants, the secret Santas that it's like in the NFL. Give us a story about of a holiday gift swap or what you love about it when you were in the NFL.
Man, it's just a camaraderie behind it. You're breaking bread and showing love to the people that you've been grinding with all year. It's crazy because we actually, the Browns, we just did our swap on Tuesday. So I just think, it's a great opportunity just to show your man next to you that you care about them and you appreciate them. And obviously, just to be honest, as an older player, the ones you don't want to get stuck with are the younger players. Because the younger players, if you have a $500 minimum, they're going to spend $502. You know what I mean? Like, but if you get an older player, they might go all the way out. I can tell you this from last year. I'm a vet, obviously, so I had a younger player we had Secret Santa. Went all out, got him some Dior. We had a $1,000 minimum, got him like some Dior shoes, this Palm Angels hoodie. I'm talking about got him right? Well, then I had a young player who had me. He got me an MCM backpack. And so I gave that MCM backpack to my daughter for Christmas because what am I going to do with a light blue MCM backpack? But it's just it's the fun of it all though, because then you get to learn everybody else, and I just think it's a great time and a great, it's just kind of like the rookie dinner. On your D-lines, it's just breaking bread, showing appreciation for your brothers around you.
Right. We always did that. And I try to give everybody like bottles of wine, things like that. You can never lose with giving out wine or, some type of alcoholic beverage, right? That always wins, Sometimes they might drink it in the locker room. I'm not going to say any team's name, but it's a good time every year. And like Shelby said, we try to have it like a 500 minimum, right? Because, anything below that, guys will be cheap and take advantage of that. Right. And then we added some coaches in there sometimes too. Coaches, you want to get the coaches, they'll get you something good too.
Yeah, most of the coaches going to hook you up. You already know.
Yeah, man. So you want to add the coaches in there, man. But it's always good, like Shelby said, it's about building that chemistry and and everybody give. And us being NFL players, we might not get gifts, right? We might not from people and family. So it's good to get something from somebody. So it's always a good thing, man. It was always fun.
You just forget, that there's, I think to you, both your points, there's so much camaraderie that gets built by gift giving. I mean, it's one of the best things you can do as any professional, right? A thank you card, a handwritten note, whatever. But especially as a player, I don't know about y'all, but like you forget it's the holidays. Like, it's coming up, but you forget that you can get a gift too, right? Because everybody's telling you what
Yeah.
they want and they want. And again, these are good problems to have. But it's like, oh man, get a gift. And I mean, I've seen everything from, weapons to, just heirlooms and things like that. Somebody brought in a couple of diamonds one time because we had $1,000 minimum too. They're like, man, I want to look for this. And you really get to find out, too, when you're a younger player, you learn how to give gifts, right? Like the story Shelby told, you hear $500 minimum, you're like, man, I got to spend $500. No, that's the minimum. And we don't do minimums around here on the team I was on, right? Like you got to go up and beyond. So to be able to show your teammate that you can go beyond and even gift giving, it really does translate to the field. It's a wonderful, wonderful tradition in the NFL, and it's something that I hope everybody at their workplace does something to allow people to camaraderie. Even if it's a $25 gift minimum, just let people show their love for each other towards the end of the year.
Well, before we go, just one thing that's always bothered me throughout my time in the league is, everyone knows when the holidays come, they send this sheet around talking about like donate to the support staff, and you got to take care of your support staff.
Yeah,
but this is something that the upstairs is supposed to do. Like this is something that the higher ups are supposed to do. They're supposed to be taking care of the support staff. Like I love the fact that I take care of the support staff, and because like Chris said, I send a bottle of wine to everybody on the support staff, like as my way of saying thank you. But like I would just love to see the upstairs doing something also. Don't just leave it on the players to do something nice for these people. Like I think everybody, like the upstairs, the owners, like everyone should do something to help all these people out, because you got to think these people put a lot of time into helping us achieve our goal of winning games, and we don't. It's so much more thanks that we should be giving them for sacrificing their time to be around us.
I got a question on that, right? Because they always used to send like a player bonus sheet, right? Do the owners and do the staff upstairs, do they get that same sheet?
See, I've always wondered that. I've always wondered that, and that's what I'm talking. That's exactly what I'm talking about, though. Like
they get free sweatpants and stuff, man. They get free lunch. They're good. No, I'm with you guys.
I always wondered that, man.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not about adding to somebody's salary. It's just about showing recognition. And no matter who we are and where we're at in the world, we can show somebody we appreciate them. We can be grateful for something someone's done, and we can show that through a gift. Well, that's this week's episode of The Harrises. Thanks so much for joining us. Get ready. The playoffs are coming, so make sure you tune in every week. Follow us on social media and on YouTube, and share with your friends who like awesome sports talk that we deliver. See you next time.